up everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we are back here in Forza Horizon 4 today, and it is the beginning of the winter season, and for this season we got a new car, this one being the 22 BMW M3 GTS. As you can see from the car, if you've seen the pictures of it when it comes stock, I have painted the car, I threw some wheel spacers on it, and it does have race suspension, but that was all just stuff for going out to take some pictures before I started this video, just aesthetic. So basically the car is still stock right now. I didn't even really mess with the suspension settings other than lowering it a little bit. So it might handle just a little bit better than stock, but besides that, this is going to be our initial test drive of the car stock. So before we go in and jump into our test drive with this car and actually see how it drives, let's talk about how we unlock it. And this one we had to do the power struggle event for. It's actually a really easy one to get through. I was honestly surprised this event was as easy to complete as it was. I just used the M3 GTS. If you have that car, it's a really good one for it. It's a really great handling car. Just super easy to knock that out with it. I do have to say, stock, this thing really doesn't sound bad until you get really high in the rev range, and then it sounds kind of synthetic and just doesn't sound quite right. Because this does have the M Motorsports V8 in it, so it should be a fairly throaty sounding engine, even up to the higher end of its rev range. And up till about 3/4 of the way it actually is. Go to the interior sound real quick. So you can hear from the inside, you get a lot more of the buzziness coming from the intake sounds of the car too. It really makes it sound kind of bad, honestly, from the interior of the car, at least when you're really opening it up. From what I've seen so far, just a little bit, I drove this around the map to take a few photos with. It actually drives pretty well, and I've kind of messed with the ride height in a really weird way too to get it to sit basically level. I wanted to have a nice even tire gap front and back, so I had to actually keep the rear end 2 clicks higher than the front just so it would be evened out. And I honestly think that it's still a little bit off. I think the rear needs to be just a little bit higher still. And yes, I know I'm kind of just going in a circle around Mortimer Gardens right now though, but I just want to test the handling out in this car in these tighter sections that run through here. This is one of the few areas where there actually are really nice tight corners in the map. There's not a lot of really good areas for that. One thing I have figured out in this car, at least here in wintertime, the rear end will snap out on you really quick in this thing, and it's fairly hard to recover from. But as long as you're really paying attention to what you're doing, it's not horrible. There's definitely worse cars, like the M3 GTS, for example, on the wheel. Once it steps out, it is really hard to catch that car. It just goes really fast all of a sudden. Actually have a little room here to open the car up. So you can see right there, I had to counter it a little bit, but it stabilized fairly well. Didn't really take too much correction to keep the car going where I wanted it to. I gotta say, for a stock BMW in this PI range here in the game, this car does handle really well. Given I do have race suspension on it, but like I said, I haven't really set the suspension up correctly, and if anything, I think I might have actually done a little bit of harm to the way the car handles without I have my ride height set up. Oh! Well, there was not much I could really do about that there. By the time I saw him, I was already way too close to move. That's what makes this road back here on this part of the map a lot of fun to take drift cars or even just really good handling sports cars around through, because there's a lot of blind corners and it's fairly technical through a lot of this. You gotta really get your lines right on the road too, because it does get really bumpy in some places and it'll just throw the car around. sliding out a little bit on me right there. I honestly want to see what this would do as a drift car. I believe you can get drift suspension on this. The M3 GTS wasn't able to have it, but I'm pretty sure this one had it when I was adding the race suspension. Oh, it should not have pulled the handbrake there. Unfortunately, we won't be doing a drift build on this today because it is winter, and while I can drift cars in winter, I haven't done it very much in a while, and I feel like it'd be kind of a waste of what this car can do trying to test it out in winter as a drift car. Alright, since we're already over here by the house, we'll go ahead and jump in and check out all the customization real quick. Actually, I almost forgot. Before we go ahead and jump in and do the customization, I actually am going to show you guys around the car here in Forza Vista. As you can see, the engine bay is painted to match the color of your car. I didn't check it out before I changed engine color, but I'm almost positive it changes when you paint your car, because I don't see them using the exact same shade of blue I did in the game, and the car starts orange. I'm probably going to go back and switch the colors up just to see if it does later on, but I'm not going to do that here in the video. As you can see though, the interior of the car is fairly well, like, just gutted out basically. There's no back seat, fire extinguishers back here. It's got Recaro buckets in it from the factory. It's a really cool looking car on the inside, I gotta say. It's got a lot of nice carbon fiber accents in the dash. I really honestly like this a lot more than the M3 GTS. I think it has a lot nicer looking interior to it. So you can see what I was saying about all the carbon fiber inlays here in the dash. I also think the gauge cluster in this looks a lot cleaner than the M4's. Nice Alcantara inserts in the door panels. Just a really nice clean car. And while we're here in Forza Vista, I'll go ahead and let you guys hear what this car sounds like again. So you can hear it right there in that startup. It sounds really good down low, but as soon as it breaks, I want to say probably like 4,000 RPM, it just starts sounding really artificial. So like around there, it's got a really nice V8 rumble to it. I guess it's about 6,000 or so. I guess if you really rev the car up to about where the red line is in the gauge cluster, it actually sounds pretty good. It's once you go past that, it just starts sounding like garbage, really. That's why I like to come here into Forza Vista though and do those engine test clips for you guys, because it's a lot more isolated sound and you can really kind of see where in the RPM range you're at and what the car really sounds like and the rev range it was actually built for. Alright guys, so as far as conversions in this car, we do have a few different engine swaps. We got the 6.2 V8, 5-liter V10, the 5.2 V10, and also the Racing 7.2 V8. I'm not going to be swapping the motor out of this thing. I actually like the stock engine a lot that's in it. It's got a really good power band. Obviously you can do all-wheel drive swaps. I think I am going to go ahead and throw twin turbos on this. I think it's a good car to have this added onto. It doesn't really drop much off in the bottom as far as power, or as far as the turbo lag goes and the power band coming on. Like as you can see, we pick up a decent amount of power and there's really not a lot of lag at the bottom of the graph before boost comes on. As far as PI on this car, I am going to keep it at like the top of S1, I think. For the body, all we can really do is take the spoiler off, which I gotta say I do like it, but the car actually does drive better with it, so I left it on there. I mean, it's not really like horrible looking. I just feel like it could be like just a couple inches wider, which that's actually on BMW this time. It's not a Forza wing, so stock tires, this thing comes, that's what I figured, sport tires stock on it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave those because it actually does have a decent amount of grip on them. It'll leave us more room to add power and keep it out of the S2 class still. You can only go to a 265 on the front, which it's not bad, it's respectable. But I was honestly expecting to get a little bit more. I was figuring like a 275, 285 would be max on this thing. I think we're gonna go with 295 out back, We can go up to a 305 if we need to, if we have enough power and we really need that extra traction. And I'm actually going to leave the stock wheels on this one. I actually really like the stock BMW wheels on this car. Alright, so for the drivetrain upgrades, I just threw full race on everything on it. This car really just benefits from race everything. Like I said, I did already throw race springs on this thing, so we're just going to leave that as it is. And yes, we can do race or drift suspension on it as well. And if you look right here, you can see what I was talking about. The rear tuck's really low on the tire on this car compared to the front, with keeping the ride height balanced on the little clickers when you're going into tuning. Obviously, we're going to throw race anti-roll bars front and back on it. And you can even see here, now that I'm looking at it, how much of a gap the front has compared to the back, even though I have their actual height set to be about the same, and I have the rear like 3 clicks higher than the front. As for chassis, we're just going to stick stock because it already does have the sport upgrades. I really don't want to throw a roll cage in it because in a lot of these BMWs, it really kills your view when you drive in first person most of the time, and I really don't gain much as far as any performance benefits from them. And as far as the weight reduction, we are going to go full waist weight reduction on this. It brings us down to 2,700 pounds, just a little over. And we got 52% front weight distribution, which isn't bad. I usually like cars to have just a little bit more towards the front if they are a front engine rear wheel drive car. We're going to see how much power we can actually throw at this thing and keep an S1, because it's honestly taken quite a bit to budge this thing, and we've already added twin turbos even. Already did that. So we'll do oil. Intercooler still only brings us to 890. All we have left is turbos. We can throw max turbos on this and still keep it in S1 because I did not swap the tires out. So we're actually going to go back, throw those wider rear tires on it. And that did nothing to the PI of the car at all. I think we might kind of be stuck at 895 without doing any kind of crazy mods to it or throwing race tires in it, which would bring us over, and then I'd have to pull some stuff back off the engine. You know, let's throw the race tires on. We'll go back over here. We'll pull off the twin turbo upgrade. Pull off our intercooler upgrade. Oh, that didn't do anything hardly. We'll do that. There we go, perfect. So we kept the pistons, we kept our oil, race cams, race exhaust, all of this is still race. We just had to drop off the turbos, the blocks, valve train. And that gets us to exactly S1 900. And I do want to apologize if I kind of sound a little stuffy or congested to you guys. I've been getting a little sick here the last couple days. Alright, so I'll go through here real quick and let you guys look at my settings I did for the tuning on this car. I still haven't tested this yet, so this might not be the best, but it should be a good baseline for this thing for how it drove before and what kind of power we added to it. As you can see, we got acceleration 66%, decel is 17, brake balance 52 towards the front, and 103 pressure, but pressure is more about because of how I had my pedal dead zone set for my brake and the way I have the rubber bumper on my pedals for resistance set. We got 78 pounds front for downforce, 152 rear. The dampening settings are actually pretty much stock. I just took a couple clicks off the back, as you can see here. For springs, I believe I did not touch the stiffness of them when I actually did the ride height. And then as you can see, my ride height in front's just a little bit over the base setting at 4.3, and the rear is also 4.3. And it actually helps with the acceleration. I'm not sure what it's gonna really affect as far as the handling goes yet. It felt good when I had it that way though, driving it before adding all that power. I didn't touch the anti-roll bars. I did drop it down to -1.1 camber front, -1.2 rear. Gearing I haven't messed with. And then tires, I always run this for my tire pressures unless it's a drift build or off-road build. 20.5 front, 19.5 rear.
Turn around when it is safe to do so.
Really curious to see how this thing drives now with all the added upgrades we did to the engine.
Turn right.
It feels pretty good so far.
Turn right.
You can really feel the car's a lot lighter. It definitely feels way lighter. Before you could kind of feel the body roll from how heavy the car actually was in the wheel. Now it feels pretty tight.
Turn left.
I did mark us out a waypoint to a race down the road here. I am going to do a custom blueprint so we can run this thing in summer because I want to see how well it actually will drive on a nice, dry, sticky road. It's really hard to actually tune cars to get a feel for them here in winter because you will hit just super slick patches here in Horizon out of nowhere that'll just really send you spinning, especially if you're on the throttle just even a little bit.
You have arrived at your destination.
So far though, tune feels pretty decent. Kind of what I would expect a rear-wheel drive car to handle like here in winter in Horizon. You can tell it's got a nice shorter wheelbase to it, which is what I really like about the M3. So it's got a really kind of snappiness to the handling. It's not like a Miata or anything like that, but it is shorter wheelbase compared to a lot of the other cars I drive here in this game.
Destination.
So as you can see, we are here at the Derwent Reservoir Sprint. I put it on German performance cars, and as you can see, we have a fairly wide selection of German performance cars for this race. Honestly kind of worried about how I'm going to do because some of these have to have insanely high horsepower to be S1 900. Because while we did add a decent amount of power to this build, a lot of it's really more centered around getting the car to handle. Oh, and it's exactly what I thought. Now that we're, oh my gosh, he just about threw me off the track. As I was saying, now that we're here in summer, a lot of that kind of snappy oversteer I was trying to get rid of when I was tuning the car originally is now gone. Now that we're in summer and we got nice dry roads where I can actually get on throttle and not have the tires just spin up because of the snow and ice. Good thing I did not try to go ahead and just dash up the inside there. I would have got smashed straight into that wall. I gotta say, I'm fairly happy with the way this car drives. It's got really... That was some mega understeer there. I should have downshifted the second, I think. This game gets really funny about letting a car turn if you're not in a low enough gear for some reason. And other actual sims, you can run cars pretty low in the RPM range, and even in real life before that starts to happen. But here in Horizon, it does happen fairly easily for some reason. As I was getting ready to say, though, before that happened, very happy with the way this car handles. It definitely feels like a good track car. Steering input is definitely really direct in this thing, too. Oh, if he wouldn't have got on the brakes, I could have just went flying past him, but I knew that was going to happen. AI always brakes super hard in corners. Oh, can we take him? I cannot believe I just pulled that off. That was an amazing finish. Here I was complaining about that Porsche doing that, and I still managed to overtake both of them before the finish.
Turn around when it is
So we are going to go ahead and head over here, do one more event. We're going to go do a circuit event for this one just to see how the car does is on a circuit layout where I can actually kind of learn the layout as we go here and actually put down better times as the race goes on. At least hopefully. So I did go ahead and bump the AI difficulty up just a little bit for this race because I do have it set to 4 laps. Give us a little more time to get to the lead. Definitely just a little worried about some of these cars because, like I said in the last one, some of them have to have some crazy power levels to manage to get up to the top of S1, at least from what's in this grid of cars here. Ooh. Just a little too cheeky with that move up the inside, and he just did the same thing to repay me for it. Right there is one of the most beautiful things about using an H pattern, especially in games like Horizon. You can just skip shift from, say, 6th gear down to 4th coming into a corner, or 4th to 2nd, and you don't have to really worry about banging through gears so much. You just gotta clutch in and kind of wait for your timing. Oh, torque started coming on all at once there. Managed to save it. That's one thing about this car, you gotta be just a little careful with the low end throttle if you're in a higher gear and trying to avoiding downshifting, because the torque comes on really aggressive in this thing with those twin turbos. Almost went too wide on that one. It's honestly almost better to try to keep this thing in the upper half of the rev range, honestly. So you start coming around corners and you're too low in the RPMs. That turbo lag, while it isn't much in this car because it comes on so low in the power band, it really does affect the way the torque just hits the car all at once. Oh, that was such a narrow gap I had there. I don't know what it is about that corner coming up that hill. This thing does not like it whatsoever. It slides out on me no matter how much I'm babying my throttle pedal. That got a little sketchy because it's going off in the dirt. Ooh. Thought for sure that Audi was going to be picking up speed fast enough I was going to clip his front end of his car coming around there, but I think I just barely managed to sneak past him. There we go. Didn't lose traction that time. Really had to baby the throttle pedal though. Up to second on the last lap. I don't know if we're going to manage to overtake this last person here or not, but can always be hopeful. I was going to say I should be able to gain on him through there. The AI is very slow through that section compared to what you can actually run it at. Oh, I could not make that one stick. Come on. Oh, into the wall. Oh, did not mean to do that. I would rather take it as a clean race. Oh, I'm wide. I think he was far enough back I can still out drag race him to the finish line. He's definitely got more power than I do. Nice. Not the cleanest overtake into first, but could have definitely been a lot worse. Alright guys, before we actually head out here, I'm going to go ahead and give you my final thoughts on this car. It's definitely worth going ahead and picking this up. Like I said, the events were pretty easy to get through. They were actually, for the most part, on fairly clear roads for being a winter event. A lot of times the road racing series events, they give you terrible roads to race on that are just really covered in snow, and you kind of need snow tires to do them. This one wasn't really bad though. I was running race tires on my M3 GTS and didn't really have much issue. Had to be a little careful with the throttle because obviously it does get fairly slick still, but like I said, it is nowhere near as bad as most of the road racing events in winter have been in the last few series we've had. The car drives beautifully, I've got to say, other than getting a little skittish coming over hills in the rear end, which I think that could possibly be because of the way I have my ride height set. I honestly feel like if I would drop the rear end back down just a little bit so the sliders are matched up, it would probably take care of a lot of that. But it really just comes down to just being a little easier in the throttle coming out of a corner on a hill. Besides that, I have no complaints whatsoever with the way the car drives. It does very well. It sounds fairly good up till you get to like 9,000 RPM, which is really just not possible with the stock engine in this car. I don't know if you could even hit over 9 grand with a fully built version of this motor even. The car looks great as well too, I gotta say. It's the aero that BMW put on it's not really untasteful in any way. The rear wing could be just a little bit wider in my opinion and slightly lower, but it doesn't look bad. And as far as the wheel combination on the car, they look amazing. They did a really good job on the aesthetics of the M3 GTS, and that's a wall. Especially the interior. The interior of this thing looks just amazing. That is what really shocked me. I did not know the inside of this car looked as nice as it does. So anyways guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button down below, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.